I just finished posting a story on Milwaukee, asking what the hell happened to Milwaukee? How did this once great center of American middle class turn into a dark and dangerous and chocolate city? And why are so many people okay with that? Well, maybe I posted it too soon because, just in my email just a few minutes ago, I just got 2 more stories from Milwaukee and the surrounding areas. 2 nasty bits of business. Let's get to them because we have the people involved in these stories have a lot of questions. And we're going to give them a lot of answers.
The woman says that she was replying to birthday messages last Friday when she cracked her door to get out. That's when the suspect flung it wide open, said nothing to her, but started punching her in the face with brass knuckles.
This Milwaukee area woman does not want to share her name, but wants you to see her face when she made it to the hospital. Someone attacked her in this grocery store parking lot at 27th and Grange Friday, leaving behind fractured bone, shifted teeth, and bruises.
I tried kicking him and hitting him back, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't get him.
A female accomplice was with him, shouting directions.
Take her purse, take her purse.
She says she let the man hit her as she reached for her pepper spray.
And as soon as I fell for it, I just knew at that moment that I was going to be okay. Like, I was going to get him.
And she did, not letting off the nozzle until he held his face and took off.
I'm small and I'm petite and I'm a woman, but I'm pretty strong and I'm pretty mighty too.
Greenfield police believe her attacker is a light-skinned black man in his early 20s, about 5'5" with a thin build, wearing dark-colored zip-up hoodie and jeans. The other suspect was a black woman in her late 20s with ombre-style hair, about 5'7" with a thin build, wearing a pink hat, pink tank top, and jeans.
I want to sit down with them and have a conversation with them and just ask them why they would do that.
If you have any information about this crime, call the number on your screen. That's 414-761-5300. Detectives believe that these suspects may have been trying to carjack this victim.
So all of the crimes occurring in the same part of town, the 2 most recent, happened in the wee hours of the morning today. The crooks swiping a van at gunpoint, a van that later crashed. Katie Crowther talked to a man struck by the stolen van in Milwaukee. But first, Rebecca Cluft talked to a TOSA victim. Rebecca.
George, from the beginning, these carjackers have been bold and aggressive. In one case, they took a woman from this parking spot right here and dragged her halfway down the block.
A quick afternoon errand is no longer the same for one Wauwatosa mother.
I did stop at the store tonight and I looked 7 times before I even got in my car.
That car is a rental right now because Friday afternoon, Heather Williams stopped at Tosa Liquor to use their ATM. She was getting back in her car when 2 people walked by her.
I put the keys in my left hand to open my car door, and that's when I felt someone brush up against me and then rip really hard. And she was grabbing my keys.
Heather says the girl between the ages of 14 and 16 grabbed onto her keys and started dragging her. When Heather let go of the keys, the girl tossed them to her accomplice, an older male teenager who got into Heather's car.
I jumped in after him to try and get the keys away from him.
He pushed her out and locked himself in Heather's car.
And then I jumped on the hood of the car and I latched on. And then he hit the car in reverse and went backwards. And that's when I fell off the hood of the car.
Police say at least 2 girls and 2 boys are part of the crew carjacking people around Wauwatosa. Since Friday, police suspect the crew of swiping 6 cars. Now Heather has a simple message.
And I think if there's one thing that I learned from this, it's to always be aware, regardless of where you are, how safe you think you might be.
Boy, that first story was really a nasty bit of business. This tiny little Asian woman, I think she was a student at the University of Wisconsin. We saw what she got caught up in, and they beat the hell out of her. And so it almost had I won't say a happy ending, but a better ending than these stories usually do. When she pulled out her pepper spray and bam, 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 the guy runs away, hands over his face. But then for me, she kind of ruined it. When she looked into the camera and she told the people that she wanted to find these people so she could ask them why. Why? Well, that's never going to happen. And if you do find them, They're going to be in a jail cell or a holding tank or with some lawyers, and they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, exactly to elicit the most sympathetic response from you. So why don't we find somebody who's going to tell the truth as to why those people almost killed you when they tried to take your stuff?
It's not good. We got to get guys employed. We got to get people employed, Skip. Because if you don't have money and you want something nice, either I got one or two ways. I sell drugs or I go steal it or I go take it. Those are my two options because I see Rolexes and I see Mercedes and I see nice things and I want them. But I don't have a job and I don't have opportunity and means to get it. So if I want it, I'm going to go get it.
Shannon Sharpe is not an outlier. Shannon Sharpe is just one of many, many talking heads on all the networks, including Fox, all the cable stations, where we can see black people talking about critical race theory, and University of Wisconsin and Madison is a center of this, where they talk about how black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere. That explains everything. Surely this young Asian lady from the first video has heard that before. I mean, 10 years ago, it was all about we got poverty, we got education, we got lousy housing, we got this, and that, and this, and that. No, when Obama came in, everything turned into white racism. And so for people who are still out there like this lovely lady from Milwaukee, who are still wondering why this is happening to me, why this is happening to other people, all I can tell you is black people have been screaming at us. Why? But we're not listening, maybe because we don't like what they're saying. I'm listening. They're saying that white, any amount of white success. Oh, and by the way, to a black person, an Asian person is like a white person on steroids. And so you remember when the president looked into the camera and said, talking about successful people, and he said, you didn't earn that. He was talking about their success was a product of some collective effort that they just luckily popped out at random. Well, that's the mythology that black people believe in successful white people, but especially for successful Asian people. Because we know that the presence of Asian immigrants in this country puts the lie to the entire myth of black victimization. I happen to know a lot of Asian people all over the country, a lot in the Bay Area especially. A lot of these people can't hardly speak English. I know one person doesn't speak English that well. She makes $1 gajillion selling insurance. The business where you have to be a little bit glib and you have to have all your answers down and you have to have all the, responses to all the objections, how you overcome objections. She makes money in the insurance business as a salesperson. But when black people look at Asian success, they only look at two things. One, that makes them a target. Good Lord, there's a song. There's more than one. A rap song. This rap song on YouTube has millions of views. We've done a video on it here. Millions of views about how you target Chinese people. And by the way, if you're Asian, you're Chinese, okay? To them, that's what you are. How you target Chinese people because they don't fight back, they have lots of cash, and they're soft targets. And, there's lots of people saying that. And so black people look at Asian people as people with white privilege times 10. So you want to ask a question. Shannon Sharpe just answered it. It could have been 1,000 different people. Michael Dyson, lots of other people. Melissa Harris Perry. Any professor of sociology or black studies in any college in America would say the same thing. But black people have questions for you. Why are you so successful? Why do you drive a nice car? Why do you have a nice purse? Why do you have cash? Why do you get to go to the University of Wisconsin? And I don't. This is the part where you come in and say, well, we worked for it. Nobody ever gave us anything. No. When you came to this country, and if you're from Vietnam, I saw the picture of the B-roll, had a Vietnamese poster of a Vietnamese restaurant there. Maybe that's your family. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But the mythology surrounding Asian people, from the crowd who does not believe you earned it, and thus they are entitled to take it, is that somehow if you came over here on a boat, everybody was hiding gold in their body cavities, lots and lots of gold. And when you got here, the federal government gave each person a check for $10 million to open a restaurant when you got here. They totally discount the work, totally discount the enormous effort, totally discount the values, totally discount family values. Remember those things we used to treasure? Now it's so fashionable to scorn them. That's what they're asking you. I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of things on websites where it's very fashionable now for young Asian people at their family gatherings. Yes, they still go to family gatherings where the grandparents are revered and the parents are less so, and kids are, no matter what, the kids are still down at the bottom. But the kids now, they've got the American thing down, and they know that they hear their grandparents talking about the struggles they had when they came over. Maybe they were the victims of robbery in their home. Maybe they were the victims of robbery at their place of employment or on the way to and from work. And the grandparents are not afraid of telling their kids and grandkids, what they went through and how black people target Asian people. Well, the young Asian people now, they like to explain to their grandparents how they're racist, how they're wrong, how they have to change their way of thinking to get more modern. If you're really, this young lady in Milwaukee is really interested in this whole idea of black on Asian violence and hostility, the place to start is, of course, Chinese Girl in the Ghetto by Ying Ma. Came over here from China. Immediately, her family moved into Oakland. I think she was probably moved into Oakland. And in her book, she talks about how her life was one constant hell of violence, harassment, threats, robbery. And what that all meant to her. That's the first place you start. The second place you start is my playlist of black on Asian violence here. Lots and lots. We have lots of videos just documenting it, but lots of videos. Thinking of one out of San Francisco where they got a couple people just out of prison and they said, hey, why did you target Asian people? This was at a time when San Francisco, where the local paper ran a column, not a news story, a column that talked about a recent police report that said of the street crimes in San Francisco, 85% of the street robberies were black on Asian. They call black on Asian crime in San Francisco the dirty little secret. That's still happening rampantly in that area. And every Asian person up there knows it, completely aware of it. We're starting to pick up a ton of Asian viewers here, including a lot from China. So start with Ying Ma. Go to my playlist. Look, we document this enormous amount of black on Asian hostility. If you don't know that by now, there's only one reason. It's because you don't want to know it. You're not listening. You're not listening to the enormous amount of hostility, greed, envy, jealousy directed at you. You're not listening when black people say Asian people are soft targets and they have too much money anyway and I don't have enough. Then we move over to that suburb of Wisconsin where the young lady who was attacked, beaten, carjacked, 6 carjackings in 6 days, did they say? In a little town outside of Milwaukee. She summed it up by saying, well, you got to keep your head on a swivel. You have to be situationally aware. So if you were situationally aware, how would your story have changed? How? If you saw a couple black people coming at you and you didn't see them. If you saw some black people coming at you, would you run away? Would you cross the street like Michelle Obama says we do all the time? What would you have done? Nothing. You wouldn't have done anything different. You would still have been a victim. So you better get a plan B. Both of you young ladies better have a plan B besides looking for an explanation and besides uttering meaningless platitudes about being situationally aware. The people on this channel know what the solution is to your micro problem. getting a damn gun and training with it. Especially if you live in a place like Milwaukee, where white people are targets, Asian people are targets, the newspaper's down with it, the mayor's down with it, the chief of police is all down with this cause of black victimization. Because they're just not going to do one damn thing to make one damn black kid angry.